okay, right. I want to go on to the modern Labour Party.
Okay.
So you spoke passionately about why you joined the Labour Party and what you feel the Labour Party represents. Do you think that the modern Labour Party is representative of those initial ideals that drew you towards it?
I don't. I think the Labour Party struggles with representing working class values and working class people. I think that those who represent our party sometimes don't come from those backgrounds, and so therefore struggle to understand what it's like to come from that kind of background. Most people on both sides of the house, if you look at all political parties, are Eton or Oxbridge educated.
Yeah.
And most of them sometimes do have wealthy families behind them, and so it's really difficult. I think the Labour Party struggles, if I'm going to be honest.
Do you, and in terms of stuff like identity politics, so now in 2022, someone said to me the other day, no one would have predicted the fact that when Twitter began, that one of the tweets that would hit 10 years later that would cause great problems was the description of what a woman is. And Labour do have a problem with explaining what a woman is. Do you know what a woman is?
Yes, a woman is a person with a vagina.
Right,
Yes,
excellent.
and a man is someone with a penis, yes.
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, next leader of the Labour Party, please. Why does Keir Starmer have trouble explaining it?
Because I think that there are elements within the Labour Party who feel that using that kind of language is discriminatory to trans people and to people who might not, have that. But I think that we need to just be, sex is a fact. That is there.
Oh my God, she's done it again. Biology.
Sex is a fact. But we also need to be very inclusive and aware that there are people who are trans.
Stop right there.
That there are people who are trans.
Inclusive.
Yes,
Right.
inclusive.
Here's my theory. I'm hitting you with my theory.
Okay, go on.
I think that this woke thing is pretends to talk about inclusivity, diversity, equitable, all of that stuff. I think it pretends it, and it uses minority groups to get its political agenda across. But I think ultimately what it is a desire for kind of communism, especially the equity aspect of it, which is that we should have equal outcomes for everybody. Where do you sit on that? Do you think everyone should have an equal outcome, or do you believe in a meritocratic world where there is that we should have equality of opportunity?
I think we should definitely have equality of opportunity, but the reality is that most people don't have equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
That is just a fact, that sometimes some people stay ahead of the line and some people are the back of the line based on things that are out of their control.
Like their birth.
Their birth. Like, for example, let me give you an example.
But look at you. I mean,
I wasn't born
essentially,
here.
no, but I'm just saying, for someone who's fleeing warlords,
Yeah.
you seem to have done all right.
I mean, I did, but remember, I come from a quite privileged background. My parents are educated. My dad had a job even during that very difficult wartime period.
Your granddad was in jail for 5 years.
I know.
It just doesn't sound very privileged to me.
No, but here's the thing, though. I can see where the privileged points are, where I can compare myself to another Afghan who might not have had that. Do you know what I mean? And I know that because of my access to the fact that my parents were educated, they had networks, they were able to find
Get to Haroon.
Yeah, to get to Haroon. Yeah, exactly. The fact that they were able to do that makes them more privileged than other Afghans who weren't able to.
You're making a good point about privilege.
Yeah.
So one of the things that got me into trouble, you said I'm not cancelled, but I am cancelled from doing acting.
I don't think you are with this
I
office.
know,
Come on.
But all I'm saying is, where I believe in privilege,
Yeah.
100%. I was very, very privileged, and
You went to Harrow School.
and I went to Harrow
Yeah.
School, and I'm fully acknowledge that I'm very privileged. But I also meet people who have come from nothing.
Yeah.
And when I was at acting school,
Yeah.
it was never the people who come from nothing who would criticise me for being, my dad was an actor.
Yeah.
It was kind of an easy
Yeah.
shoe-in for me. You still
Yeah.
got to be a good actor, but it did me no harm.
Yeah.
It was never the working class brickie, former brickie from Liverpool. He'd be like, "Good on you, mate. Yeah, fucking great."
Yeah.
It was always the middle class girl from Putney.
Yeah.
Who was like, you're privileged. So I was thinking, do you think, okay, two questions. One, is privileged class-based? And two, do you think it's helpful to talk about concepts like skin colour privilege? Like this concept is what I think is a very divisive concept of what they call white privilege.
I mean, I think this privilege is very complex, right? So if you look at me, for example, I grew up in a council estate. My parents were on and off benefits. My parents weren't educated in the British education system. They didn't know how to navigate this. They don't have networks here. I had to navigate all of that by myself. You know, there are other people in the UK whose parents are lords or MPs and help them navigate these systems of privilege, and they get to that place. So I think that it's really complex. What I think that is really important, you know, in my first job, for example, I never thought of people as the Muslim community or the black community, or I never thought of people like that before I entered politics. When I entered politics, everyone was in a box.
That's fascinating.
Everyone, and I was like, wow. I was really shocked. I was like, wow.
What box were you in?
I was in the Muslim community box, even though I didn't really identify as like, you know, that wasn't the thing that identified me. I just found it fascinating that politicians put people in these boxes and then expect you to act like those boxes.
Which to me feels like, but that it feels like, so I have this major problem with the whole, you know, certainly in terms of the race stuff, when it's like, you know, you have white privilege, so therefore you have to really look after the poor black people. It feels sort of racist, but in reverse to me. Is like, as a person of colour, that you don't have opportunities to succeed in this world, and that white people need to step aside or whatever it is.
Well, I don't
but
think
the boards of all these companies are all white anyway. So I'm like, why don't you step aside?
Well, that's a very good point. I think that when you look at businesses and organisations across the UK, the majority of the senior leadership is white.
Which we are an 80%.
Well, yes, exactly. But that is natural when you have a population of more than 80% white, right? Yeah. But where it's proven that if you have a diverse and inclusive workforce, your profitability increases.
When you talk about diverse and inclusive, what does that mean?
That means women, that means people of colour, that means all kinds of genders and whatever.
Look at our football team. I'm with you up to gender, because gender doesn't exist. So,
oh my God.
But look at our football team. It couldn't be any more diverse and inclusive if it tried. In actual fact, you know, if we were to have diversity, equity, and inclusion applied to this football team, there would only be two players of colour in it.
But you need to look at it. So if you had, for example, Laurence Fox, the England footballer player, right?
He was great.
Yes, right. And he came from a privileged background. His dad was wealthy. He went to Harrow School, all the rest of it, and he got extra lessons for football, got a private coach, all the rest of it. So he got a head start. Then you have, I don't know, Adam from
Golders Green.
Yeah, Golders Green, who's black, for example, grew up in a council estate. Family didn't have much money.
I like
didn't
Golders Green. It's nothing.
Didn't have access to a private coach.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff. So he's starting at the back of the line, but Laurence is ahead, right?
Yeah, but he's got something that Laurence doesn't have.
Which is?
Which is drive, determination, and much more.
How do you know Laurence doesn't have that? Both of them obviously have it.
Laurence has not had to travel through tribal warlands to get to play football for England. You know, so what I'm saying is, I think there's a fortitude that comes with suffering. Now, I believe that everybody can suffer. Everybody.
Yeah. Yes, I agree that everyone can suffer. Yeah. I agree completely. But what I'm saying is that Laurence hasn't had the same difficulties as Adam has, right?
No. But that's life, right?
But that is where the privilege comes in. So I think privilege is mixed. I don't think privilege is just about race, because I think white working class kids from council estates struggle, and I've seen it myself. On my estate, for example, all of us of the mindset, we've got to make it in life so we can get out of the estate and we can actually help our parents.
Yeah.
That was whether you were black, whether you were white, whether you were Asian, whatever you were, that was the mentality on our estate. And we worked damn hard, and most of us have been able to do that now. So I feel really proud of that, of people like that. So I think that it's complex. Privilege is complex. It's not just it's not just about race. It's about class. It's about access to networks. It's about your family background as well.
So as far as countries go, do you think Britain is doing its best to have that?
Yes, I think Britain is trying its best, but I think that we should be better at it.